Okay, we are like 2 minutes past three in Brazil time. So I think we can start. We might have a couple of people joining us as well. This is a very specific, very focused webinar. We want to provide everyone with an overview, and it is a sort of high-level review of the Brazilian agriculture sector, especially for those companies and organizations that are considering joining our mission. We'll talk about our PDA mission here as well. So I thanks for everyone present. We'll have a fairly um, streamlined agenda. We'll talk about the innovation ecosystem for agriculture in São Paulo with Sérgio Tutui from the government of the state of São Paulo. I'll give a very brief overview of what is the overall Brazilian agriculture sector today as well, and most importantly, I guess, also some of our focus as government of Canada in Brazil, our commercial focus and where we think there are more opportunities. We have asked um, Rabii Haji to talk about the mission itself, a little bit what is involved. And we asked Avi from Ukko, who actually has been to Brazil in one of our previous missions and has been fairly successful in exploring and developing agendas, business in Brazil. With that, I will invite Jessica there. She's the Senior Liaison, Global Innovation Clusters, Innovation, Science, and Economic Development in Canada, to just do a quick welcome remarks to everybody. Jessica, over to you.
Thank you. I'm really happy to be here today. And as was mentioned, I'm the liaison supporting Global Innovation Clusters program here within ICED. I want to thank my colleagues at Global Affairs Canada for setting up today's webinar, and we're really looking forward to learning more about the Brazilian AgTech sector. But before we do, I just wanted to briefly give an overview of our program for those who might be hearing about it for the first time. So the Global Innovation Clusters were launched in 2017 under the government's Innovation and Skills Plan with the approach to introduce a new model to industrial collaboration within Canada. So this was going to bring together companies of all sizes, academic institutions, and not-for-profits to collaborate and accelerate the growth of Canada's promising industries. The goal is to boost innovation, drive commercialization, secure IP within Canada, and help companies to scale nationally and globally as well. So this is done through a third-party delivery model. Those are the clusters themselves, and I'll get into that in a little second. And it brings government investment as well as industry investment, so a co-investment model, to bring about transformative projects. These are also industry-led projects, and they're designed to strengthen the networks, attract investment and talent, and create hubs of innovation. Because there's that global focus also within the clusters, they can build these connections and create these environments and like where the innovation is thriving and really help them expand by creating those partnerships globally as well. And we see examples of the cluster model being used very successfully in countries like France and the UK, Germany, Denmark, and many others. And it's really been shown to be a successful way to drive competitiveness and economic growth within a country. So there are 5 clusters within our program itself. They're all independent, not-for-profit organizations that will provide the funding, the expertise, and as I mentioned before, those global connections to their members. And they do this through partnerships and ecosystem development and technology projects. Collectively, they have funded over 600 projects with more than $3 billion in co-investment and again, building that national and international partnership and ecosystem. The 5 clusters themselves, we have digital technologies, and their aim is to accelerate the development and adoption of digital technologies to help Canadians stay healthy, address climate change, drive economic productivity, and build the digital skills. The sectors that they're focusing on include healthcare, natural resources, primarily mining, forestry, and ag, as well as AI, genomics, and quantum. Then we have the Proteins Industry Canada, which is really focusing on transforming agriculture and food production through the development of new technologies at every point in the value chain, with a sector focus, not surprising, on agriculture, agri-food, sustainable ingredients, value-added food processing, AI, and genomics. We have our advanced manufacturing cluster, their next generation manufacturing. You may hear us refer to them as NGen, and they are here to drive digital technology and transformation in advanced manufacturing to improve environmental sustainability, supply chain resiliency, health, security, and they have sector focus that is quite large, including circular manufacturing, biomanufacturing, advanced materials, resource security, and resource processing, AI, quantum, home building, and genomics. They really cover quite a range there. Our third cluster is Scale AI, and they're integrating AI into supply chains to boost productivity and optimize resource use. And they're supporting sectors such as AI, what a surprise, supply chain, healthcare, construction, forestry, as well as finance. And last but certainly not least, we have our Ocean Supercluster, and they're accelerating the development and commercialization of globally relevant made in Canada ocean solutions, in energy transition, food security, transportation, as well as climate change. Their sectors of focus will include fishery, aquaculture, bioresources, offshore resources, marine renewables, AI, transportation, and ocean technology. One of the advantages of this cluster model, as they are third-party independent delivery mechanism, they're very agile and they can work at the pace of business. And they have been successful at leveraging and implementing a wide range of national innovation strategies within Canada, namely the Pan-Canadian AI strategy, the National Quantum Strategy, Home Building Technologies, an Innovation Fund, and then most recently, the Canadian Genomics Strategy. So that's a very high overview. I realized it was very broad, and I probably spoke incredibly fast, but fear not. I'm going to put some resources in the chat that folks can reference, and I think there's contact information also available. So do reach out if you'd like to learn more about the program or the clusters themselves. So I hope that was okay. Is that all right?
No, that was great, actually. Okay. Super concise, but the clusters is one of the tools we actually use for branding Canada, not only in agriculture, but in other sectors, as it is recognized as a very successful model of innovation. So both in life sciences and agriculture sectors that I am more involved, but pretty much in every other sector, we are more than proud to use those our tools to promote and brand Canada as a hub for innovation per se, and very interesting. It's a profile of innovation that matches, particularly in agriculture, matches Brazilian needs, requirements, and goals very closely. So it's really great, and we'll definitely keep you busy in the coming month, especially with this visit. But without any further delay, I'd like to introduce our next presenter, Sérgio Tutui. Sérgio is the head of innovation of the São Paulo Agribusiness Technology Agency, APTA. The state of São Paulo is still a powerhouse in agriculture innovation. In fact, this is pretty much a irradiation center for AgriTech innovation. The state of São Paulo has a big influence and impact on this. They have now created a series of hubs. APTA, Sérgio is the coordinator of these hubs. And so we asked him to speak more specifically about the ecosystem, what's happening in São Paulo. So Sérgio, if I can just put you on the spotlight, over to you.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I'd like to begin by expressing my gratitude to Marcio and Christina for the invitation to engage with the Canadian innovation ecosystem. Marcio spoke. My name is Sérgio Tutui, scientific researcher at the Secretary of Agriculture and Supply of the State of São Paulo, currently serving as innovation leader at APTA, São Paulo Agency of Agribusiness Technology. It's a privilege to open the session in which we'll explore the agribusiness innovation ecosystem in São Paulo, with emphasis on the strategic role of APTA Hub. Now I'm going to share my presentation.
I think you have the presenter rights, correct?
All
There you
see
go.
my.
There you go.
Okay.
We can see it. Yep. It's on the screen.
It's on screen.
Yep, it is.
Today, we will address
It's there.
Excuse me, I think Sergio may be muted.
Yes.
Sorry.
Sérgio,
Now
you're
it's okay.
muted. Ah, okay. There we go.
You don't listen in my speech.
Now, yes.
Sorry.
Now we can
Marcio?
hear you now. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. One moment, please. São Paulo is the most populous state of Brazil, representing 21.6% of the national population. It's an economic powerhouse and the largest metropolitan in Latin America, with the over 12 million inhabitants. Its diversity and scale position, São Paulo is a strategic hub for business and innovation. The states account for 34% of Brazil GDP and the leader in research and development investment. In 2023, the State Agency for Investment in Research, FAPESP, contributed to $234 million in R&D. São Paulo concentrates more than 40% of the country's scientific production and has the highest density of researchers in Latin America. São Paulo is the main gateway for international open innovation in Latin America. The city hosts about 55 of Brazilian deep tech companies driving advanced technology and disruptive solutions. This leadership is supported by the strong network of science parks and innovation hubs that connect business, universities, and research centers. Leader in Latin America in ecosystem value, it's the main city to generate investments from startups, surpassing large hubs such as Mexico City, Buenos Aires, Bogotá, and Santiago Valparaíso. These leaderships reinforce São Paulo's role as the region's most dynamic center for innovation and entrepreneurship. It stands out as a unique state in Brazil due to its unparalleled economic strength driven by your country's largest GDP and a diversified industrial and service base. Its diversity of talents comes from a combination of world-class university, strong research institutes, and a multicultural environment that attracts the professional from across the nation and abroad. This rich talent fulfills innovation and entrepreneurship, resulting in one of the highest startup density in Latin America. These factors created a dynamic ecosystem where ideas flourish, investment flow, and global connection thrive. São Paulo's agribusiness is one of Brazil's most powerful sectors, generating approximately $37 billion in exports and employing around 20 million workers. Beyond in scale, the state stands out of diversity of crops, advanced production technology, and strong integration with global markets. An agriculture innovation hub is responsible for 23.6% of the Brazilian agribusiness GPD. The state hosts 845 agriculture technology companies, representing 43.2% of all national AgTechs. This leadership is driven by advanced research centers, strong integration between technology and production, and a diversified agriculture base that includes sugarcane, citrus, coffee, and livestock. São Paulo AgTech demonstrates a high level of maturity compared with the other regions of Brazil, thanks to advanced technology infrastructure, proximity to research centers, and access to investment capital. This strong ecosystem allows companies to create innovative solutions and scale quickly to national and international markets. Unlike other areas, São Paulo concentrates a dense network of AgTech with consolidated business models, integration across diverse production chains, and a strong focus on digital technology. Rider AgTech is an initiative that maps and monitors the agricultural technology startups ecosystem in Brazil, providing strategic data on numbers, distribution, and maturity of AgTechs. In addition to São Paulo City, 5 other cities in the states are promoting innovation centers, forming the Agro-Innovation Corridor and strengthening sectoral technological development. The Agribusiness Innovation Corridor of São Paulo integrates leading universities like USP, Unicamp, research centers, startups, companies, and investors in a collaborative network across strategic regions. This structure facilitates knowledge exchange, development of innovative solutions, and access to advanced infrastructure, bringing together qualified talent and strong institutional support. This creates a favorable environment for advancing cutting-edge technology and enhancing São Paulo's global competitiveness. APTA, the São Paulo Agribusiness Technology Agency, APTA, is a benchmark in research, development, and innovation for agribusiness. By coordinating 7 specialized scientific and technological research institutes, APTA integrates knowledge and technology to strengthen food and energy production chain, ensuring competitiveness and sustainable. Agronomic Institute, leader in plant production research, developing advanced solutions in genetic improvement, soil and climate management, irrigation, pest and disease control, and food safety. Zootechnical Institute is a global pioneer in animal production research, focusing on Nelore and Caracu cattle breeds, and advancing sustainable meat and milk production, as well as integrated agricultural system. Fisheries Institute dedicated to aquatic protein production, driving innovation in fishing, aquaculture, and water resource management. Biological Institute specialized in sustainable pest and disease management, offering advanced diagnostics, technology development, and professional training. Institute of Agricultural Economics provides strategic intelligence for agribusiness, supporting decision-making and public policies formulation. Institute of Food Technology focus on food, beverage, and packing, developing innovation solution and partnership with industry. APTA Regional, which 18 regional research and development units, ensures technology transfer and local adaptation, promoting integrated production system and food safety. APTA Hub is the innovation hub of the APTA, is a network of innovation environments connecting the entire production chain, developing solutions to accelerate innovation in tropical agriculture and agri-foods. Its main key differential is the ability to connect research institutes, startups, companies, and investors, fostering solutions that enhance competitiveness and productivity. APTA Hub offers strategically distributed physical space to facilitate access to collaboration among community members. 7 innovation environments are distributed across Campinas City, Santos City, São Paulo City, and Ribeirão Preto City, promoting team integration and regional development. The ecosystem operates with multiple focus: business formation and acceleration, prospecting and connection, community strengthening, and ecosystem development. Key areas of activity includes territorial development, bioenergy, animal health, loss reduction, biological safety, genetics, soil management, waste management, automation, artificial intelligence, biotechnology, nanotechnology, and others. Key areas to activity includes territorial development. Thank you for the very much, and I'm available for partnership if new connections.
Fantastic. Thank you, Tutui. That was great. I think it's worth mentioning that the agenda, the program of the mission that we're planning will actually visit 4 of the large innovation hubs that is included in APTA Hub. So we're going to visit Piracicaba, we're visiting Campinas, Ribeirão Preto, and of course, São Paulo. So participants will have a chance to see first on site the work of the hub, but also meet with companies and in the system, in the ecosystem, understand a little bit better what each location does, and therefore we are very positive that there is a number of opportunities that can be explored in each of the locations. And of course, we will we're working with the support of the government of São Paulo to ensure that any relationship that is started will have full support from both the state of São Paulo, but also from our side. So we're very positive. That said, I will be very, very brief on my overview of the Brazilian agriculture sector. I hope to have we'll have at least 10-15 minutes at the end for questions. So please keep your questions. We'll definitely want to hear your doubts and questions. So the Brazilian agriculture, why this mission? Why we're looking at Brazil? First of all, Brazil, of course, is a powerhouse in agriculture. The market itself, the whole market of primary agriculture in Brazil, is valued at over 125 billion US dollars. Depending on who's counting, that number can reach up to 155 billion. So it is a market that is large enough in itself to make it worth working with it, regardless of which area, which subsector, which technology you have. The sector alone accounts for about 8% of the Brazilian GDP. And roughly 40% of Brazilian exports overall. So it is a major component of the Brazilian economics, and therefore any and all governments, at all levels, federal, state, municipal, have a very strong interest in supporting initiatives that foster agriculture innovation. And we just seen one of the examples with the state of São Paulo, but many others. Brazil is a global leader in several commodities. I mean, it's either ranked in the top 5 producers or exporters of several commodities. Now, that includes soybeans. In fact, soybean, Brazil exports about 50% of all the world output in soy. Coffee, of course, sugarcane, and so on. While some of these cultures are not relevant in Canada, some of the solutions that are being developed in Canada are designed and directed, could be used, for instance, in sugarcane, in coffee, and other commodities that Brazil is a leader in producing. And there is an enormous demand for new technologies that can help reduce costs and optimize results, yields in the field. Brazil, as Canada, is also very dependent on agriculture exports. In Brazil, it hits last year was $165 billion US. And so the sector, as I mentioned, is important in any way or any direction you look at it. It is important. Economically, it's important from a perspective of generating new technologies. Innovation is important from a perspective of labor per se, social impact. It's a major sector. What we are, from our perspective here, as the Global Affairs Canada in Brazil, we believe that we have identified some areas where we see more opportunities for matching Canadian capabilities and the Brazilian needs and interests and requirements. So one is biological inputs, biopesticides, biofertilizers, biostimulants. The use of biological inputs is growing rapidly due to new sustainability, ESG compliance laws and requirements, which, by the way, Brazil has very stringent environmental legislation. So these technologies, these new products the use is increasing very rapidly. Obviously, another area that is a very strong match between Canadian capabilities, Brazilian requirements, market demand, precision agriculture. So sensors, drones for crop monitoring, technologies that optimize irrigation and therefore the use of water resources, technologies that can support and assist in yield prediction, smart technology integrated with sensors for automation of farm equipment, any data analytics or artificial intelligence that support decision making on the field. So anything that is related for precision agriculture has an incredible high demand in Brazil at this point. And the rate of incorporation of technology not only is very fast, but it's very wide. Has been established that at over 98% of Brazilian farmers of all sizes have some level of innovation incorporated in their daily routine, and of course, large commercial farms will obviously have more, but even small family owned farms will have incorporated already a good level of technologies in their operation. So that's on the machinery, we see some opportunities on the post-harvest technologies, particularly GPS-guided stuff. It goes a little bit more in a match with the precision agriculture. But again, going also on the storage side of it, storage equipment, storage technologies. Once you have, establish your storage facilities, you have to control, you have all sorts of technologies to not only maintain your stock, but also to move it. And finally, biotechnology in both vegetable plant biotechnology as well as animal livestock biotechnology. So in this case, we're talking about improvement, climate and resilient seeds, for instance. We're talking about pest control and other things. So these are areas where there's an incredible high growth, very fast incorporation. Farmers understand why they need those new technologies, and we believe Canada, within its innovation hubs, are well prepared to fill that void that here. Of course, Brazil produces lots of technology, which is another interesting aspect because it allows for a lot of technical partnership for co-production, technical partnerships for adaptations of technologies, which is always something needed, and pure and simple commercial partnerships. So those are the areas we see, and you probably see that reflected in the profile of our mission as well. The sector in Brazil, the drivers for the sectors are not too different from what we see in Canada. Global demand for food and biofuels is obviously high on the list. In the case of Brazil, the expansion of arable land has also prompted an increase of the sector development. And mind you, we have still a lot of space in Brazil to increase arable land without touching any of the native forests. In fact, there is a big stock of land still available for expansion, which inevitably will increase the need for new technologies, products, and so on. The advance of technology itself is a driver for the sector, as new technologies allow for better precision, prediction of yields, for better use of resources. This has also been a strong driver for the sector. And lastly, but not least, I guess government support program, credit programs, infrastructure or investments in infrastructure to allow for better movement of the production. These are some of the drivers that have been that are essentially impacting in the sector, and we expect obviously that this will continue in coming years. Finally, just to give you a very overall idea, as well as we, Government of Canada, approach and support you in this market, we'll work with you to assist you in developing a suitable market entry strategy. If you don't have one, we'll assist you with identifying partners and key stakeholders that make sense for your business. We are obviously focusing on areas where there is a strong match between Canadian capabilities and Brazilian market demands, but we'll work with you on a very customized base, regardless of anything. We'll also tell you whether this is a market for you or not, but by and large, most of the time, we are able to help you identify partners here that will eventually work with you in very specific niches if it is the case. We position Canada as a technology-driven and sustainable innovation hub that is a very well perceived position of Canada in the market, and we take all opportunity to strengthen that, and that is something that we strongly recommend that you, as a Canadian company, also use on your marketing strategy. We do have a number of initiatives across the year that you can actually access and use to promote your own agenda, and that includes a lot of cross-sector activities. So we work with agriculture and infrastructure, agriculture education. So depending on how you're looking at your own market development strategy, we can actually incorporate a number of different initiatives to your own. And finally, we will promote, as we do now, technological exchanges between companies, research centers, hubs, and so on, which at the end of the day helps us to maintain a very positive image of Canada and Canadian companies. So those are the basic areas. There are some challenges for those of you interested in the Brazilian market. We do have a complex fiscal system that you have to understand. It's not insurmountable, but you have to understand so you make sure that you remain competitive. There is fierce competition from both Brazilian companies and international companies. So having a good product in itself is not enough. You have to have a competitive advantage, whether it's a new disruptive technology, pricing, logistics, whatever. Whatever you do, one thing for sure, you will have competition, and it's pretty fierce competition from all sides. So be prepared to be innovative. The size of the market itself it might be a challenge. You have to focus. Brazil is very large, so you have to be very certain where you want to start and what you want to accomplish, because you won't be able to go all over the market at once. Keep in mind that we have 3 time zones in the country from north to south, and reaching areas in the large agricultural center of Brazil may require 5-6 hours of flight to very small locations. So size itself might be a barrier for some companies. And I think it's always worth pointing out the environmental regulations, both an opportunity, both very positive for Canadian companies, because Canadian companies traditionally work on a very strict regulatory environment. But in Brazil, you have to understand the peculiarities of the regulations, and therefore you might have to adapt your product, which in some cases initially becomes a barrier, but once you do that, and then it opens up a number of opportunities. With that, I will stop, so we have time, give more time at the end, and I will invite Haji, the advisor of Global Affairs Canada and the guy responsible for the mission, to talk a little bit about the context, the concept of the mission, and what it involves to be on the program. So, Haji, I'll pass it on to you.
Okay, thank you so much, Marcio. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay. Well, good afternoon, all. A pleasure meeting you, and many thanks to our colleagues from the post in Sao Paulo, as well as my colleagues from ISED for arranging this call. And also would like to thank our Brazilian friends that are here with us. We're very happy and excited to have you, and we're looking forward to this PDA. So my name is Rabii Haji. I'm an advisor here at Global Affairs Canada in Ottawa, and it's cold today. I can tell you that. Yes, it is. Um, and I am a member of the Canadian International Innovation Program. So that is the program that is supporting this delegation that will take place in Brazil. The program's main objective is to enable Canadian companies to go to priority markets, to key markets, such as Brazil, for example, to explore and identify potential partners that Canadian companies can work with, join forces with, collaborate with, to either co-develop, adapt, or validate the technology. And this is the second delegation that we are doing in Brazil this year. So that says everything, and that says it all. That means that Brazil is really a very important market, and it is a priority market for Canada, and we try our best to support Canadian companies to explore opportunities. All the opportunities, that my colleagues have spoken about before me. So the program provides funding to Canadian companies. Maybe I can share my screen, just
Sure.
2 slides, so to guide you throughout my presentation. Okay, share. Let me know, please, when you can see my
There you
screen.
go. Yeah, you up.
Awesome. Thank you, Marcio. I'm just gonna make it full screen. Awesome. Awesome. Okay. Oop. Yeah. So like I said, the program, the Canadian International Innovation Program, supports Canadian companies to go to priority and key international markets to explore and identify potential partnerships with organizations in that market. Um, so we support um, companies that are incorporated in Canada and that have experience in commercializing technology. We also welcome startups too. They can apply, and many times we have provided funding to startups to join these kind of delegations. We also, we want to make sure that the company has enough capacity. And when I say capacity, I mean full-time employees and revenue. Um, why? Because, there will be outcomes, positive outcomes coming out of this delegation, and we want to make sure that the company will have capacity to leverage those outcomes and take advantage, of those opportunities. So what we provide, so we cover up to 50% of eligible expenses to a maximum of 15,000. And as you can think, the expenses that we cover are the economy class airfare, the accommodation, local transportation, the registration fees, for example, to participate in an international conference or exhibition, in general, an event, and also marketing material and local transportation. Um, so the main objective pretty much is, to enable the Canadian companies, providing them with this funding that they can use towards exploring opportunities in the Brazilian market. I'm gonna stop sharing. And I can tell you that for this delegation, we have received strong interest from Canadian companies. The deadline for applications is this coming Sunday, which is going to be November 23rd. And so far, we have already received 17 applications, and I believe there are another at least 10 applications in progress, which means, and that is a a great sign of, the interest of Canadian companies in exploring opportunities with Brazilian counterparts. I'm gonna stop here, and if there are any questions at the end, more than happy to take them.
Perfect.
Thank you
Many
so
thanks.
much.
Great interest. Actually, given the short time that we have had to work with those, it's a pretty good outcome so far. So I'm very optimistic and very excited that we'll have a great roster of companies. To allow for as much time as we can at the end, I will go straight away and invite Avi from Ukko Agro. Avi was part of our previous delegation in AgTech. Absolutely incredible energy to work, never stopped. And so no surprises that the results are incredible. So Avi, if you could just give us a sort of an idea of your experience with the mission and so on, it would be great, and how you see the Brazilian market, it would be fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, thanks for the kind introduction. It's been a pleasure working with you, Marcio, as well as Christina and everyone in the group over the, I guess, almost 2 years, and it's going to be almost 2 years since we did that. So we are Ukko Agro. We're based out of Toronto, and it is very, very cold in Toronto as well today. I think the key point to think about is when you at least in our case, when we thought about, okay, we should work in Brazil, and part of the reason was we are Ukko Agro. We focus on broad acre crops, and our solution is the digital solution that is for applying analytics on suggesting when and where to act. It makes sense in a condition when there's a lot of decisions to be made across a very, very large acres of commodity crops, and we focus on soybean, corn, wheat, etc. And Brazil being one of the largest producers of soybean as well as corn there as well, it was a natural fit. But the biggest question was, okay, so you take a flight to Brazil, and where do you go from there? So that kind of starts from there, and that's where I think that's where the benefit of this program is. At least in my case, I had no context there. I did not know anyone prior to going to Brazil. But this program, when we landed, there's a structure in there. And I don't have to talk about the program. You guys have learned enough through that. But I'll talk about the experience there. The most important, some of the things that I really enjoyed and actually helped me learn, not just kind of going and presenting what your company is all about, but there are so many cases in which you will hear about all those innovation hubs. They will talk to you about what exactly is going on there. And working in Brazil is very, very different from working in Canada, which we learned over the time. And I will talk about some of the challenges we had and how we overcome, and how our commissioners have been great. And actually, my first call goes to them. Whenever we're running into a challenge, then they've always helped in this case. So we also got to hear from Brazilian companies how they were building their solutions, how they're approaching the market. That was really good. That was a learning experience where, that was a learning experience in which we realized that, okay, so how do we approach this market? And depending on what your solution is, I'm sure you'll find someone, or at least a company, which is kind of in the similar zone, and you can learn from them how they're approaching. The second part of that is that over the period of approximately, I think it was 4 or 5 days, the program moves really, really fast. The cohort that went with us, those relationships are still there. In Canada, we are still all in touch with one another in one way or the other. And because we're working in the same market, those relationships help. So that's just another reason why I think it's a great way to go with this program. One of the challenges that we learned, we had a hardware partner. It's a hardware part of our solution. And over time, we realized actually that hardware doesn't work really well in Brazil. And we ended up building a partnership with a Brazilian company. And that really opened doors for us today. And so we work with one of the largest chemical company there. That's where we're piloting our solution, and we're trying to build that. And part of the pitch was, it is not a Canadian company that is coming alone, and then people who live in Canada, they're kind of hands off. No, here we have on the ground Brazilian partners who are working with us. and they're part of the solution as well. So wherever you can find some level of partnerships, I think that goes a very, very long way. That was kind of learning we had that from the programs we were hearing from people, and when the opportunity came up, we acted on that. And lastly, having a representation in Brazil, which we realized over those 5 days, kind of hearing over and over again, is very important. So it's great that you're learning about the country, about the program, about how market works. But at a certain point, do think about how to build some partnerships there. And lastly, working in Brazil again is very different from a logistics standpoint. How do you even build someone? The as basic question is that. So I remember reaching out to Christina and Marcio that I have no idea how to do this. And they connected me with a lawyer who actually knows how Canadian companies operate and connecting all the dots. I think these are the kind of, it might sound very basic, but these are the kind of very important things that I was getting help. I still get help. I mean, I still reach out to these guys. So that's a part of the whole idea here. So I'll pause here if anyone has any question that I can answer. So I don't have any slides or anything. I thought I would just kind of share through the experience here.
Fantastic. Thank you. In fact, I'd like to open for any questions you have for any of the presenters or anybody. So feel free to either raise your hand or open your mic and speak, or put your message on the chat. But I will actually start with Avi from beginning, because you actually came here from a very rough start. What has been the main barrier that you found in terms of advancing to the next step?
Building trust. So building trust on the ground has been the biggest barrier. Things started to open up when we had a person representing us in Brazil. Although we were kind of coming to Brazil every quarter, trying to set up meetings, having those discussions, but it doesn't really work beyond a very, very initial pilot stage. I think that I think we're in advanced pilot stage, so I'll put it that way. But that trust came when he's a person they can see who was Brazilian, kind of working with us, and the Canadian company was in a partnership sort of approach. I felt that worked really well.
Fantastic. Any other questions from anybody? I'm trying to look at Hazel. Okay, go ahead, Amy. I see your Hazel hand. It worked.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for the presentation. It is, I think, Avi, you had a good response there. It's along the lines of what we're trying to do is identify partnerships within country, because we found it very important to have that local presence. What is the best way about connecting and making those partnerships? And what have you found would have been good if you had known prior to going into it? What would you want to have as groundwork if you were going to start fresh?
That's a great question. I would start with trade commissioners, to be honest, and that would be my first approach. If I have to do this all over again, I'll do the same thing. So I'll ask them, hey, do you know anyone who knows? So for example, I'll define, do you know anyone who knows in Mato Grosso, say, for any retails and that specifically for digital, who has kind of sold that solution? I'm looking for someone who can help me sell that kind of solution. So very, very, very specific. That would be a good starting point. Which I always found that at least there was some contact that came out of that. The other piece that helped us is we also looked for advisors. So we have advisors in our company. We were lucky enough to land an advisor that is from Brazil, and then he kind of opened some doors as well. So it's a combination. I would go with that. The thing you want to avoid is how fast can you say, yes, good profile on the resume on paper, but not going to work out, because that kills time.
And in complementing that, Amy, is as Avi said, if you give us a profile of the ideal profile of your contact you're looking, we can identify it from both just a purely commercial perspective. We will look also who has similar interests that could be a good match for a partnership. We have a team here that is dedicated to innovation, and so they will look at from a research perspective academic who can support your program. Sometimes you have to essentially validate here the technology, and so we can also help identify who would be the best equipped partner. We go through Tutui, for instance, and that opens doors to a number of different partners, suppliers, and so on. So yeah, we'll definitely, I think, I'm very confident to say that we can be very active in finding you contacts here.
So one thing I can add there, I totally forgot about this. So it's been 2 years, almost 2 years now. So when we started in Brazil, we need very specific data sets for soybean for kind of adapting a technology to Brazil. So we reached out to trade commissioners. They got us a contact in a soybean research group, and that is how we were able to get some data sets and improve things. Since then, that has kind of led to more research advisors and partners we're able to find in Brazil. So now we have a complete network through which, if whatever we want to work on, we know exactly who to talk to. So that started from there as well.
Yeah, perfect. All right, thank you very much for your answers there. I think it does seem to come back to trust in many of the cases. It really doesn't depend where, especially in ag, you need to have the trust, you need to have those feet on the ground. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, farmers are not very different anywhere in the world. They're pretty similar approach. We're actually approaching our time here. So if I might ask Gabriel, if you could please sort of give us Gabriel is a person, one of the persons here behind the innovation work done, all the relationship on innovation, research and so on. So he'll be with us, I believe, during the whole program. So I'll pass it on to you to end our little meeting.
Thanks, Marcio. I am a person. Thanks. Part of the team here at the Trade Commissioner Service at the Consulate here in São Paulo. I am Canadian myself, so I've been in the market for a year and a half, and I have, I'm from the Quebec province with some friends in the agricultural sector. So I can tell you that there's a lot of similarities that we see in the market in terms of the capabilities in Brazil and the appetite for new technologies. Marcio is obviously the expert on that, but my colleague Christina and I, who are working on innovation, see that when we speak to the businesses and the ecosystem here that is rapidly growing. And this PDA is definitely an amazing opportunity for Canadian businesses to explore and get exposure to what the market here in Brazil has to offer. And what was quite, interesting from Rabii's short presentations, the fact that you already have a good coverage on your expenses to come to Brazil. So it's definitely a good opportunity that, doesn't take away a lot of resources when you participate to this PDA in Brazil in February, of course. And it's a good first introduction to the Brazilian market. The state of São Paulo is as Professor Tutui mentioned, the most populous in Brazil. It's literally a powerhouse, and this program will definitely feature some great innovation hubs, and we'll go around the state of São Paulo talking to some experts, both in the field and in the laboratories. So I would simply invite all of you to apply. Case in point, as Rabii mentioned, that we already have a good mass of applicants. And again, feel free to reach out to Marcio. He just dropped his email in the chat. We're always happy to support Canadian businesses and entrepreneurs here in the market in Brazil. And looking forward to welcome you in 2026 February. Merci.
Fantastic. So, we'll essentially end here, but the discussion can continue anytime. You have our contacts. We are more than glad to talk to you on an individual basis, discuss your strategy, see how we can support you in this market. Hopefully we'll meet during the mission, but if not, at any given time, we can definitely sit down, meet and work together. So